Well, welcome everyone to episode 11 of the Intrinsic podcast. I'm your host here. My name is Dave. You can follow me at Spiral Talks for the podcast name, and Spiral Theory is my personal. Tonight we're going to be jumping in on the topic of patience. Patience. Is it a virtue? Is it a curse? Is it a lingering effect? Is it as important as it needs to be in daily life? I've always seen patience as it's tricky to say, because I've found it a strange imbalance between being both a curse and the fact that there's a lot of endurance involved. To be patient, you have to be able to endure a situation or a state of mind or a person or an effect of the world or effect of someone else's being, and that endurance, that pressure that comes involved with that endurance creates it's somewhat of a realm of complication, but it's not entirely complicated. It really just comes down to your perceptions of what you want out of any situation. So you being patient in a situation is you looking at what you want or having a goal in a situation or any experience you come across, and with that goal in mind, you move through circumstances that you generally wouldn't particularly want to go through or aren't able to control, but have to still endure the situation in order to attain the growth within yourself. That's my I guess my perceptions of the cursed variations that come with the realm of patience. But I also feel that I have a question here, or not a question, a comment. Trusting that the outcome is possible for you and embody it as if you already live it. Yes, that would be the treatise to getting out of that state of endurance. Like, so you have the idea or perspective of what it is that you want, and you are patient with yourself or the situation in order to reach those steps, those necessary goals. It's like, so that's what I'm saying, like the variation where it can be considered, or I'm using cursed, but it's a little bit of a strong word to use. And I guess it's the hardships of patience, rather. It's that you have to endure. You have to withhold your strength to deal with any situation in order to obtain the best results for yourself from any situation. And the glories that come with patience is everything that is attained through it. There aren't that many things that I've seen in life that were patient and weren't beautiful. Like, think about it this way. It's like you go outside your house. Like, just a basic reference of that concept would be like going outside your house and looking at a tree. Think about the big tree, this beautiful tree, lovely form of nature. has been growing for like 70 years to become that beautiful, magnificent tree. But it was all through patience. It was all through the patience of that tree's own being to be patient in itself, to keep striving for growth, to keep expanding itself, to become that beacon of beauty that it can perceive and we can perceive. And I look at like patience for its glorious moments, because you you live you live your being, you live your existence in that state because we want to grow constantly. But there's a lot of hardships that we have to come across. Now, if we're too rushed, if we're rushing ourselves too much, or we're not allowing ourselves the ability to wait and find that patience, then you create an imbalance within yourself or within your environment. If you're rushing a situation, like say you want a project to go, and people will say are working on it or this or that, and like you're impatient with the people working on the project, so you're rushing them, you get errors. The project might even not finish. You might create imbalance between you and the other people working on it. Granted, in some cases, yes, like it may work, but at the same time, there also may just be like the level of how much you pushed and where to push. And even then, knowing how to do that, where and when to push, and exactly how and when and where, is patience. It's an individual taking the time to analyze, what can I do for this to make this work the best? I'm still going to be adding a little bit of pressure because I'm trying to guide it in a specified direction for specific things, deadlines, you want it to be a certain way, blah, blah, blah. But by being patient with yourself to analyze the situation and the other people and other individuals involved, you are taking that time. You're being patient with yourself to perceive, and you're being patient with the perceptions you receive, which allows you to now create the best possible outcome. And obviously, if you're very patient, then best possible outcome means that it works. Because essentially, whatever you're trying to get done would be getting done, assumably as quickly as possible. But if it gets done, then that is it. And being patient with something to be able to get to that state is where it is. And even if it didn't work out, being patient with other individuals in other situations, because it's like, how many times have we come across people that say, and I guess that's a little bit tricky, because like that would be like an objective view of like you're paying attention to somebody's being for how they are, and you may want, or it might just be that you see things in them that they themselves may not have seen. So you can see their potential. You have to be patient with that person's growth, no matter which direction it goes. Because like that's the way of life. It's that the only things we truly are able to shape are our own existences and how we perceive them. So everything else outside of it, it's just all levels and strings of patience that we have dealing with it. And I think it's like when we humble ourselves to being patient with ourselves, we allow ourselves to be patient with situations and other people, so we can perceive how we want to go through things, how we want to grow through things, and the values we wish to obtain within ourselves at its peak's maximum. It's like, obviously, if we're looking at other individuals, it's like we look at other people for, I'd say, partially narcissistic, but not necessarily, because if you're looking at it in like, I look at people in terms of their potential. By looking at you in terms of your potential, I am not necessarily or at least I myself try not to impose an ideal onto another person, because I know that people only have the capacity to be the most themselves, which means that whatever is the most you is the most you. So no matter which direction or how you go about it, you will be you at the most. And I can maybe alter things in slight ways and slight possibilities, but I can't actually make any real alterations to another individual. I am limited to what I can do within myself. I can produce an energy that can allot people to change in a specific way, which means like I can be upset. If I'm upset, then that energy of me being upset can pass on to other people. If I'm happy, I can be very happy, and that energy of me being happy can pass on to other people, and it can create a change if they are willing to absorb it. It is their choosing to allow that energy to enter into them. So it's not so much that I actually impose it upon you. It is that is my energy being expanded, and what you take from it is what you take. How you choose to absorb it is how you choose to absorb it. And like, we have our own abilities to kind of absorb and adjust things based on our minds and our wills. If you are strong-willed, then no one can ever tell you really anything. No one can tell you anything, because you know something to be true within yourself. And it has to be something that is within you, of you understanding something. It's how you have any genius invention that it was ever made. Like, those inventors were sitting there like, I think this is how this is going to be. And everyone else is like, I think you're fucking crazy. So those guys are like, no. This is how it is. I know it, and I'm going to prove it. That right there, that energy, and then they proved it. Boom. Obviously, there's a bunch of people who are not able to do it, but I'd say when that drive is perfectly aligned with a person's being, it's a straight shot to you figured it out. It may take an excruciating amount of time, but it's a straight shot to figuring it out. And that in itself, too, I'd consider as the form of patience. When you know, it's like, that's a thing, too. When you know something like that, when you have a deep knowing within yourself of a thing, and you're hearing other people try to tell you that what your ability is, yourself, like, you have to be patient with yourself in order to keep doubts down, to keep negatized energies down that you're going to perceive from other people. Anyone who's going to be like, hey, you can't do this. This doesn't work. This is not going to make sense. Da, 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 da. Like, anything like that, you wouldn't be able to affect you if you were a patient with yourself, patient in your own understanding, patient in your knowing of yourself, knowing that which you are is that which you find to be the most true of you. And like, by following that, like that, by being patient with yourself and its maximum, grants you the greatest strength you ever have as a being. And I feel that connectivity expanded allows you to connect not just with yourself, but with others even more. You can build a deeper connection with other beings, with other entities, and understanding each other, understanding yourself more, because you're now able to actually, when you understand yourself, you're able to understand others from a truer in depth. And imagine two people who understand themselves, two beings who understand themselves, communicating. They'll understand each other in such depths, in such ways that it's unimaginable. It'd be like in that same degree of like how twins have that like psychic kind of connection, that psychic bind, or like soulmates, how like perfect matted like soulmates, twin flames, when they connect, there is an energy, like an energy of understanding that binds them, that they can feel thoughts. You can feel a different level of pressure. It's more connected, more combined. patience. Patience, I feel, is patience, obviously, as well as a few other things, and like knowing yourself for sure, is the path to understanding everything, really, because it's like it's all about time. Patience is just understanding that things come in time. We don't just automatically learn everything. Technically, I feel like we did know everything, but it's like you have to go through that process of patience to grow into becoming like more. It gives you the ability and capacity to expand and create more. That wonderful knowing of yourself adds an extra added attribute to like the laws of the universe. By being like the universe itself is patient in creating us. When you think about it this way, we're here right now on this planet. It's like what? Seven something billion years, I think, something like that. 7 point something billion years estimated of existence. Now it's like, you know how much time that is? You know how patient everything else has been to even allow us to get to this point. For me to be able to be here to converse. For me, in my own life, to even have gotten here to be able to do this, to converse. But then when you add in the concepts of how many things had to fall into place for me to even be at this point, the patience that existence itself has on existence shows you that in patience there is an extension of infinite beauty. There will always be a powerful and deep realm of growth that is gained through patience. Like, even in meditation, like, people don't just meditate, close their eyes, instantaneously pull the information back. And not to say that there aren't people who do that. And I'd say that to the people who are capable of doing that, genetics in itself was patient enough to allow them that ability, because that's not an ability that's just freely accessible to everybody. And like, I feel something like that would become freely accessible to everybody as we continue in our evolution, which reel right back. Evolution in itself is a method of patience. We're patiently changing, evolving, growing, constantly for the sake of growth itself, to become more and better in the state, in a means to which we make more things around us better by our presence, creating more. By just existing. Like, just imagine, it's just right here, me right now. By me just existing, by the most basic thing of me doing, sitting here, not doing anything, but me being here, I'm changing the energy of this room. There is a wavelength of energy that is being passed off of the walls, that's just being spread through the walls, that's being passed and spread through everything else. But just by me being here, not moving, just by me being here, my existence has created an expansion on reality. Me being here has created a way for reality to be more than reality was. Without me, there could alternate dimensions. There are other versions of me. They could be different variations and different whatevers. And Even that in itself, me thinking about them creates a realm that they're able to exist now because I thought of them. I thought them to exist. And even from them to me, that maybe they're doing the same thing. They thought of me and that created me. But just by existing, you create growth. It's an evolution. It's the evolution of things. Everything expands. It all wants to expand, to keep growing. And again, it's all a part of a process, because time and patience are variables that are, I guess I would consider them similar attributes. In order to be patient, it takes time. You must wait for a thing to achieve a realm that creates the growth that is perceived, even though it may not be within ourselves directly, or in another, or in a thing directly in a moment. It is that at a point it will. Planting a seed in a garden, and eventually will grow into a plant. Growth will always function, but it is over time. It's by understanding that balance of patience, understanding that things need time to grow. Everything needs time to grow. I think that's like one of the basic principle, or I'd say a cardinal rule of human life, is that we were all meant to grow, and it all takes time. It's all a process of motion through time. We continue to expand our beings in the reality that as we expand our beings, the realm of reality expands even more. And it's all about patience. Like, we have to, even an idea, like, think about it this way, even an idea, a great idea you had on something, any thought you had, any process you were working on, or any project, it's like you had to be patient with your own thought process. Because say maybe your idea started off as just a line, just one line on a notebook, on a simple notebook like this, just one line, and then boom, you're starting to fill out all the pages with whatever that idea was. It started to grow, and then that idea was able to become something beautiful. But it's because you were patient with yourself and allowed that seed to grow. It's one of our main strengths, is our patience. When we rush things, when we rush energies, it creates an imbalance, I find. Creates an imbalance within ourselves, and it creates an imbalance within others. I myself understand too that although patient, I'm also impatient. I am patient with myself in my own understanding that there are things that I'm working towards strengthening. Characteristics in myself that the characteristics and traits in myself that I appreciate the most. I am patient with myself in my strengthening of those, because those are things that I find to be the most me, to be the truth of who I am. And the more I discover things about myself that are the things that are of the truth of me, then it's like by working on those things more, I'm understanding myself, but I am also applying patience to the fact that you don't just change overnight. Some people can. Sometimes you can, and like I've always perceived those moments when people change in like a snap of a finger. It's because it's more there's a I guess an instance of something. Like I'm using near death experiences, I guess, as an example. It's like so somebody has a near death experience and they're like, oh, okay, I'm changed up. Whatever I was doing before this, I'm not doing that anymore. Everything is now different. Blah blah blah. Like that happens. That those moments and instances can happen, and they do create pretty rapid change. Pretty rapid change, but I feel that being patient with yourselves, allowing yourself that time to, as long as you're looking at like the path of growth for yourself, because like again, that as I said, like the I forgot what word I used, but I guess the difficulties of being patient, especially with yourself, it's like when there are things that you want to change within yourself. You have to accept the hardships that come with working on those changes. And be patient in that realm of like that these hardships are things that you're working on. These hardships are things that are going to come about because the work you want to do in yourself requires you to grow in these ways. And the patience you would have within yourself to allow yourself to grow will allow you to become the most you. But without the endurance of those hardships, then you will generally rush back into older states of being, older states of thinking, older states of actions. You'll start redoing the same things, and it's like because you're not being patient with yourself, you're not allowing yourself the time that's required. And granted, like I'm not trying to, because I'm looking at it as these are hardships for a reason. It's not an easy ship; it is a hardship. You're going to have to hit that wall in order to move through it, in order to become that which you are. Right? You have to break past. You have to break out of this shell. It's like a bird in an egg. It's got to fight to get out of there. It's got to break out of its shell. But that whole shell business is a hassle. Like, I've seen videos where it's like, yeah, people, like, help those birds get out of there. But there's probably a lot of cases where that bird wasn't able to make it out. It was trapped. Stuck in the shelf. The parent bird didn't want to do any of the work. They're like, this egg is... Nah. Like, there is a hindrance factor when it comes to your own impatience. Your own impatience creates one's impatience creates complications. Yes, it rhymes, so I think that's really nice, but at the same time, I think there's a better word to use. But one's impatience creates complications. You can complicate your own life, your own situation by being impatient. Some cases it is possible. Like, I understand, like, I do devil's advocate because I also understand, like, hey, look, possibilities are possibilities. I understand infinite possibility because everyone has the ability and everything has the ability to go any which way or every direction. But there's relative scopes of, like, direction for things. Like, that cone theory that I have where it's like, imagine that, like, my being is a complete sphere. And it's like, okay... Actually, I'll try to draw this out. So let's see if I can do it this way. So cone theory, general idea of cone theory. So it's just like I am me. This is I drew that so tiny, and the writing is so tiny. Okay, let's do it this way. So, boom. This is me. You, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, this is backwards. I wonder if I could write backwards. Dropped my wonderful. Let me see. I think I can do it backwards. Move B, and then this way. Ha! Nice. So, boom. This essentially would be me. Now, whichever direction in life I decide to take or to maneuver on creates a pathway, right? So it's like, I started off here as like one idea. This one direction of an idea cones out, creating a path. Now, that idea is like, I look at it like, when your cones are more honed in, that's like you becoming the most yourself, because you've kind of like isolated your being on a thing. And then there's like a whole bunch of different directions of ways you can go. Some of these cones can intersect with each other in other ways. So it's like, say this is like whatever different path that I could have taken. It intersects with this cone in another way. This cone maybe goes higher than this cone. This cone maybe expands far, but it doesn't go as high. It doesn't go as far. And all these cones go in all 360 directions around your body. You can have, like, say, a small window of like a thing down here that connects with all these, that connects you to different paths. Everything all starts at the same starting point, which is just like the person or being center point. But it's like each of these cones will bring you to different paths. And it's like, by being patient with yourself and isolating which one. So I'd say, like, using this as a reference, like the purple one in the center here. Say that's like the path that you want for yourself. That's your true thing that you want. That's exactly what you want to do in your life. And you are able to kind of go outside of that window into any one of those other kind of cross sections of those other cones, because it's like those possibilities still would they still would exist. They're less likely or more likely depending on what your drive is. Because it's like when you start saying, like, say you went on any one of those paths and it's like that path wasn't really a good path, but you kind of intersected with your best path because you went that path. Okay, boom. That's how you kind of move from that one to kind of shoot forward. And now that cone is like, it's kind of honed in from that dark path. And it kind of actually makes another smaller cone of like, this is the direction of things where they were supposed to go and how everything was supposed to be. And it takes the patience and understanding of yourself to reach states like those and reach places like those to be like, oh, I am what I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to learn. This is how I'm supposed to go about it. And that patience that you have within yourself, when you're able to be humbled in yourself, and allow for that loving growth. Essentially, I would say it's like loving yourself, really, literally. Loving yourself while not spoiling yourself. Because there's a big difference between spoiling yourself and loving yourself. Loving yourself is like, yeah, these are my quirks. This is what this is me. I know this to be me. And these are the things that I appreciate about myself, because these things that are me and that have been who I am, although maybe others may not enjoy it, depending on, because it's like, there's realms of malice, of course, but it's like, if I was just a kooky person, well, I am a kooky person, but the idea would be like, say it's like, I'm with my friends, and like, I guess this is just me in general. I'll give an example, I guess. So like, I'll be with my friends, say we're walking down the street, and I'll suddenly go by a park. We're just walking by a park, and I just kind of I look over at it, and like midway in a sentence, while conversing with my friends, I'm just like, I'm already on my way, beelining to this park. Like maybe my friends didn't want to go to the park, maybe they just weren't about it, but it's like I knew I wanted to go, and the energy behind my actions were pure. It's like I wanted to go because it would be somewhere we can have fun. Even though, not to say that we weren't having fun before, but it's like we can still have fun and enjoy the situation. We can enjoy the direction that situation may have brought us into. Thank you for joining. But it is also by being patient and understanding that is who you are. That is what you are about. And loving that those pieces of you that make you enjoy life. And you can see that those pieces make other people understand that they enjoy how you enjoy life, and it makes them enjoy life more. Like that energy, that value, by being patient in understanding who you are, allows for your growth, which allows for the possibility of expansion of growth in others and other things. It is one of the patience is one of the greatest strengths that we have been granted in this existence, because it allows us the ability to strive for a greater energy, to strive for a more wonderful and powerful existence, without stating that the existence that you are in is bad. It's more, you can add more enjoyment. It's just an addition. It's like an addition system where it's like, I love this. I love this. I enjoy this. And it's like, I can enjoy this more. More people can enjoy this with me now. And it's like, it expands the energies. It increases the growth, which will expand the common denominator of what existence is, which is love. Connecting us more into, attuning us more into the value of the universe, that we exist because of a patient love that pretty much started everything. We wouldn't be here if the universe wasn't patient with us. If the gas clouds that created our sun weren't patient with the energy that was within it to become a sun, and to then create other planetary systems for us to get our ozone in order to create like moisture, Mars, other planets, like that amount of time, the amount of patience. And it's like an easy way I like to look at it, refer to just do that same concept of a referral of patience. It's like, I'm 33. How many times does 33 fit into like 7+ billion years? How many times? Something 100,000, like very high 100,000, like 800,000. Yeah, I'm trying to run the numbers in my head, like 8.397. I don't know. That number is too high for my brain to just try and jump on right now. But it's like, all of this time existed before me to create me. And I can't be patient with myself or another being to become themselves. It's the tricky part. And being patient doesn't necessarily mean that, like, You're going to take someone's bullcrap. Like, if someone sucks, yeah, they suck. Being patient with them is being patient in their growth. You understanding that and respecting both yourself and being patient with them. Being able to take your time away from people, certain energies that don't sync well with you, is a way of growth. It is a process in that same realm of growth. It's that, hey, I can obtain, or I don't know, sorry, not so much that I can obtain, but it's I know that you are growing, and I will be patient with you as you grow, in the sense that I will let you go to grow to become the most you. And if that which is the most you at whatever time I have waited happens to be something that fluctuates with me, then our energies can be in sync. Because like that's the whole thing. Like, by being patient with people, you understand one basic value is that nothing in life is stagnant. Everything is ever changing constantly. So you can't, like, that's kind of like my whole kind of sting against, I guess, the whole cancel culture kind of ideologies of things. You made a video, or you did this, you did that, X years ago, especially when they're talking like decades ago. You think people don't change? Like, certain traits are certain traits. Some people are just dicks. I get it. And like, same time, those dicks also have the ability to change to just be better people. But at the same time, it's also like, if you see how they are, by being patient with yourself, you are able to analyze how this person is. And so say that person was a dick. Say somebody that you know was a dick. You're like, okay, cool. You rode that wave for as long as you could until you're like, I can't deal with this person anymore. Okay, boom. You leave that person out of your life. You come across that person at a different point in your life. And you're like, okay, cool. Have they changed? There would be that moment of like, testing your knowledge of your patience with this person and with who they were before, by understanding that person. Like, by being patient with them, you're not constantly sitting there trying to fight them. Like, and I've even done this myself. Like, I've had to learn this a lot in my life. Like, sitting and looking at somebody who's going through certain things, and then I'm like, why can't you figure this out? Why are you struggling to figure this out? And I'm like, no, that doesn't work. It doesn't work to try and forcibly adjust somebody. So it's like, okay, well, you have to do what you need to do for you. Like, what I started learning to do is just like, I went about it the psychologist approach. I was talking to people who were like that, where I realized like their energies were of that degree. Like, if I let them back into my life, I'd be like, okay, cool. And like, I would just talk to them and like start to see what's going on. And like, if the situation is kind of like going into that, I would literally just ask them, like a straight up thing is like, is this that you are doing in this situation? It's like, what did you wish to gain from your and my interaction? Like, did you want it to go bad? Because I don't feel that you did. It's here, but I don't feel that you wanted it to go bad. So it's like, what did you want out of the situation? And then you find out what it was that they wanted. And then it's like, okay, well then, why did it change? Like, how did it, in this moment, in this instant, how did this instance change to being outside of that realm? And then it's just like, you just allow somebody to kind of like pull themselves or pull their energy to a state where they're able to perceive that which they that which they can perceive. They start gaining a perception of themselves, which obviously, depending on the individual, can go any which direction. Because to some people, they go, oh my God, that's how I am. And then that just tailspin into whatever directions. But at the same time, hey, look, the first step to anything and everything is always the realization of the thing. So even though, yeah, tailspin and that degree may seem like a tricky instance, it may lead you exactly to where you need to be for yourself. It'll bring you to that realm of growth that you needed, that you required, that you wanted, that thing that has been holding you back from doing certain things, that which has been stopping you, that has been that has been this. It, by realizing the first step, allows you to try and get to the state of working on things. And then from there, it's now being patient with yourself in your state of growth. Understanding that you wish more out of yourself, and in what the most out of you from yourself you can give to others. Because I feel that that's kind of what we generally want to do. It's like, yeah, we all want to like be in good situations, but at the same time, like the feeling of like giving a little kid a balloon, be like, here you go, kid. And that you just made that kid's day. That energy, that feeling. I don't think there's anybody on the planet who truly is that. Well, there is malice energy, and I'm not going to deny it. But it's like, on average, most people, if they could give a balloon to a kid, they would. That's why Pay It Forward exists. I'd I wouldn't say recently, but I'd say in like the past 6-7 years, there's like me hearing that term, and Pay It Forward has existed for a hot minute. Whoever came up with that, I feel like that might even be a thing. Like that's just been a thing since forever, really. It's just called a good deed. Just doing something for somebody. Just be like, hey, here, man. And like, I guess Pay It Forward is just like our way of like isolating it into a thing to make it into a trendy, naming a common sense trend that has existed for us since I feel like the dawn of time, because it's like people, the greater good of all has kind of been what has kept everything going, honestly. Because like tyranny doesn't really last long. Tyranny doesn't last long because people eventually fight it. They always eventually fight some form tyranny in some form or another, or it collapses on itself. Like, we're gonna play the whole history repeats itself. You look back at tyranny, anytime there's any type of tyrannical type of energy or situation, it falls apart. Something like that's kind of happening in the part of the world that kind of has a energy like that. It's kind of that process that is where I feel the people themselves will inevitably reach and create an expansion, create a growth. But I think the overall love and joy in that concept is that in our love, in our love of ourselves and each other, we will continue on this path of expansion, this wonderful realm of evolution. And it's just being patient, guys. It's all about being patient, because like the pessimistic view that I've always heard people say, but yeah, the world is fucked, people are fucked, da 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 da. Like, I've started to see that energy change. And like, I look at that to me as like that it's kind of like a reward to my patience because I've been patient with like the state of things. I've had a strange knowing of things in the degree where it's like things can't remain like the worst forever. It's impossible. It's impossible because nothing fails. Nothing fails entirely. Nothing fails in its entirety. Yeah, you may die, you may lose your life in a situation, but existence goes on, life goes on. Things don't stop. There's still motion, so things are growing. And things will change in some way, shape, or form to alleviate the process of that path of like things not like things being imbalanced by malice. Because like I'm not gonna compare like say somebody's walking and like just like act random moments of like hit by lightning died like random moments like those happen, but it's like it's there's a patience that is had like because like okay cool that person died I died and say it that whatever time got struck by lightning boom and it's like okay well I'm gone all right things will still keep moving. And especially if we understand how technology has gone, because technology like it's gotten like I'm wondering when people really understand how crazy technology is gonna get. Because like where we are right now, technology is pretty crazy. You looking at any of the things that we have now, 50 years ago, nuts. Nuts. Like these guys will lose their minds. You bring someone from the 50s to here. First off, if they ate like any of our food, they'd die. But unless it was like naturally grown or like very, very like very, very good stuff. But it would be if you do a comparison of like them to us, this stuff is crazy. And like from us to like the next step, and like we're not even that far. Because it's an exponential curve. When you start getting into things like technology, it's like it starts growing up. Same thing with like understanding spiritual. And once you start getting to a spiritual understanding of yourself, it becomes an exponential growth of like, whoa, I can meditating now. Like I can really talk to myself. I feel my soul. Like it's an exponential growth. Like that's like evolution is of that degree. It's like it's a law of existence. Like you when you're in that curve, it's a rapid curve until you starts to kind of like, and then it's like, oh, okay. And then it's like, you're kind of there for a bit until it kind of does another loop where you're like, oh, we're at a new growth phase where it's like, because now you're going to kind of go over level and gain a new realm of knowing in some degree. But like where we are with technology right now, like we're almost at the point where like you can do anything. We're almost there. Like I think we're technically here now. It's just that it's a little complicated to do all of that right now, per se. But within that same realm of understanding patience, like it all fits in exactly where it's supposed to in time. And the more patient you are with the truth of the situation, yourself, others, the more patient you are, truly patient. Like if you're locking that patience within yourself first, and then being patient with others and other things, when you're truly in that sync of that patient realm, it creates that path, that beauty, that path that's all like the way I look at it is that path is already preordained. It's beyond us. That path is why we exist. That path is why anyone can see this video. That path is why anyone can never conceive of anything that I'm saying right now. It's because things far greater than us were patient to allow us, you know. It's just my humble food for thought. I think patience is truly a virtue and a wondrous thing that we should all learn to appreciate within ourselves and within others. All right, everybody. I have enjoyed our podcast tonight. That was Intrinsic Podcast, episode 11, Patience. You can catch us here next week on Instagram Live, 9 p.m., same as usual. Maybe it's me, maybe both of us. Alicia was away from the podcast. She was taking care of the little ones. And so, obviously, we're taking night off. Enjoy. This is the Easter weekend. Enjoy your long weekend, you know. So I want to say that to all of you guys as well. Enjoy your long weekend. Stay good, stay in you, and put a positive spin on a negative spiral, everyone. All right. Have a good night, everyone.